guys, Dan from Next Venture Motorsports here today. We have got the JL up on the lift, and we're going to show you how to install the front fender flares for your JL or your JT. So before you start your install for the front fender flares, if you are doing paint or powder coat, we do not pre-install these lights because the first thing you're going to do is have to remove them. Once you are painted and ready to go, which in this case we're going to be installing them bare and we're ready to install them otherwise, we're going to have to insert the light, and it is just this little LED block right here. And please take note of where the wiring harness is. You're going to want to put that towards the inside of the flare, and you can install this light from the back towards the front, and it's going to be not quite a press fit, but it is going to be a tight fit, and you want this to sit flush up here. Now it's not going to just hold itself in magically, so we are going to use some of the included hardware here. This little set screw and these two small 832 machine screws to install the light to the fender here. And it also comes with a nylock jam nut that you'll want to put on the back. We're not gonna fully tighten any of this down until we have the set screw in, just because we want to make sure that we are positioning that light correctly. Here's our set screw, and the set screw is super tiny. It takes a 5/64 Allen. I'm going to use this T-handle to help guide it. So I've got the set screw nearly tightened down. So this is when I want to just feel around the corners here, make sure it is where I want it to live. And we can start tightening these down. So we now have our 11/32 wrench, ratcheting no less. And we're just going to snug these two down. Perfect. All right, so we've got our light in. Ta-da! Yuck. So here are your factory fenders. If you have the factory Rubicon fenders, they can be split in two, which is great. You get a little bit more, you get a lot more up travel. They just happen to be really, really wide. About this width is nice, but they get wider as they come to the front. It doesn't follow this hood line. That's one of the things we wanted to do when we designed ours. The other thing that's this is sort of a disadvantage, but it has a unique advantage that comes with it. If you don't want to damage your body while you're wheeling and you happen to hit one of these, they come off pretty easy. Also, they come off pretty easy. There are other ways to pull this off. There's a set of tools that you can actually disengage these little clips with. These little plastic clips. Sometimes these little plastic clips will just break. Before you remove this, you're going to want to make sure that the wiring is disconnected, because you're still going to want to be able to plug in our lights. They're plug and play with the factory connector. If you rip off the factory connector because you were on the trail and this happened to you, you're going to want to get a replacement factory connector. Okay, all right, so maybe that wasn't completely fair, because we've already had flares installed on this Jeep before, and short of the clips holding it in, there are some mounts that you got to take off first, and I'll show you those mounts on a Jeep that still has them. And this is one of the steps. You do have to remove these with a cutoff wheel in order to get all of the room back. I suppose you could leave them, but they're going to be sticking out, and there's a potential they're going to catch a tire depending on what size tire you have and axle width, all of that. So yeah, let's go ahead and actually remove them. You might be wondering where those little mounting brackets are. If you have complete Rubicon fender flares, you're not going to see them because your factory liner is covering them up right now, but they are hiding under there. So if you do leave these on, they'll be just kind of hanging out right here, Whether you are splitting your factory flares or going to our Highline flares, they do hang low. And I wouldn't say that they are particularly the shape that you're after on the inside of your wheel well here. So Tyler's probably going to end up cutting those off of his little Willie here when he does the fender flares as well. But we did capture the removal on the JT here.
All right, now that we have what was left of the fender removed and all the clips and everything out of it, now we have to remove these 4 mounting tabs. These ones are probably your easiest, so you can cut flush off of the bottom of the fender. These ones have to come completely off this core support right here, but we'll do that on both sides like that, and then we'll go to the next step. All right, so the first step in this, after the whole fender is removed and all the fender brackets are removed, is going to be lining up our steel inner brace with the fender. As you'll see, the nutserts inside that steel brace will line up, so put at least 2 or 3 of those in place. And what we'll do with that is, once we get a few lined up, you'll see that there's a couple of holes on the bottom here. We need to drill those holes to and I just knocked it out of his hands. There we go. We need to drill those holes to a determined size for the squeeze nuts that'll go in place there. I believe it's 25-30 seconds. So what we'll do is we'll put this in place, push it up against this inner frame right here, and tighten it down. All right, so then you can see here where we need to drill these holes into this lower subframe, and then we have nutserts that are going to go into them. And now that it's attached to the fender, we know where it's going to sit. All right, so we removed the steel inner bracket and we marked our holes. We did do a pilot hole of 1/4 inch just to make it nice and easy. But for these nutserts, or squeeze nuts as I call them, to go in, you need to drill them to a 25-30 seconds. All right, so after these holes are drilled to a 25-30 seconds, then you get one of these little tools here, the nut squeezers as I call them. This one's off of Amazon. It's a different style than most. I do smaller nutserts normally, but it'll go all the way up to 1/4 So then you'll install them in the holes you all drilled, and then to the next part. All right, so with your nutserts in the frame, you'll go ahead and install the hardware into the bottom. Leave them loose though, because after this step, we're gonna be hanging the fender on, and we wanna be able to get all the rest of the bolts into the factory locations, including our bracket here. All right, so after you hang the fender, you can put it into a couple of these nutserts that we have on this bracket that we include, and then you just start bolting everything on.
Not tightening down any of the hardware yet. You still want everything to be able to move.
Yeah, that moves.
Okay. So after you've got a few of these up here and it's sort of holding itself up, just make sure that your harness is safe. Now we do have this little vent cover piece here, and this installs between the flare and the body. And you might want a second set of hands to help you hold up the flare. And you can insert this actually from the inside. And you'll see that it's going to line up with this little depression in the fender flare. So I don't have any hardware holding this piece in yet. We're going to want to get some hardware in here real soon. But if you just let the flare sit down on it, it'll hold it in there. If you've got a really nice paint job done on these pieces, you'll want to make sure that you get a second set of hands to help you place this and get everything sort of fastened down so you're not damaging the paint. In our case, we're just leaving these the DA sanded that they ship in, so there's not a big worry about scratching these. So in order to get that vent filler panel attached to the body properly, we're going to take this other smaller steel piece. So this should be the last steel bracket in your kit at this point, and one of our 1/4 bolts here that'll thread into it. And we're going to take the bottom here and line it up to this hole, and these two are going to go up and line up next to those 2 holes next to the Freedom Chicken. And for right now, you can just let this hang because we don't even have these other 2 holes drilled yet. And we're actually going to save that as our very last step. So once we've got these lined up and have that piece loosely attached in the back, we can come back up here towards the front with an open-ended wrench. And start assembling up here. All right, so for this next step, you're gonna wanna take something that can kind of protect your body and get out a 1/4-inch drill bit. And we're gonna drill out both of these locations here. All right, so we've got this nut plate still hanging out right here. And we've got to actually rotate that up and into position here in order to line it up with these newly drilled holes. There we go. Last step is to go ahead and plug in your new lights the right way. Go ahead and take any excess length and zip tie it up and out of the way here. And we'll show you how the lights work.
Oh, it has to be running?
It has to be running. That's why they're called daytime running lights.
Yeah, same.
It's up a little higher.
It's
actually,
a little different. Okay, that's weird. It didn't
it's not coming off.
It didn't fall off. Be pretty dope.
All right, well, thank you guys for watching the video. That's how you install the front fender flares. We're gonna take this out to Sand Hollow now and do some wheeling on these new 40s. Yeah. Hope to see you guys out there.
Although this will be a good place to test out the aluminum fender flares, maybe, or the door. I mean, that was it.
Yeah! Yeah, keep going!
Hell yeah! That felt good.
Yeah?
That's a good test.
That's a solid, yeah.
We can buff that out smooth.
No, that was a solid hit, and that did fan-frickin-tastic.
Ah.
I like that you're testing these out harder than we have so far, because we haven't put our Jeep on the trail yet. Yeah, give Kevin crap later. Be like, dude,
I want to see the step count of them.
we're supposed to be the test monkeys.
Thank you guys for watching the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And hopefully we'll catch you for the next one. See you guys on the trail. Another weekend project. Stupidly awesome. This is toolbox.
Exactly.
We love Wes's toolbox.
It's not
Yeah.
red.
Well, what does that mean?
Where'd you find more hardware on a Saturday?
Hardware closet.
Needs a hammy.
I think it needs new axles before a hammy.
Now. You know, I have a question. Why are most obstacles in Moab named after food? It's time for a snack. These zip ties aren't the best, but they'll do the job.